Shalom and welcome to class number 23 from the book of Zohar. We are in the prologue of the book of Zohar, the introduction of the book of Zohar. We're in the section called the donkey driver on verse 90. Like I mentioned in previous videos, if you are using the Kabbalah Center Zohar, and that's an abridged version of the Sulan commentary, which is really good if you're following these classes and you're learning with us. So as always, what we're gonna be doing is we are going to do kind of like a meditation to create an intention before we study the book of Zohar, because the book of Zohar is not only about understanding it, it's not only about gaining knowledge or revealing the secrets that the book of Zohar has for us. It's also about bringing light. It's about us thinking about connecting not only our soul with the Creator, but changing our nature from an egoistic nature to an altruistic nature. And if you have been following the lessons, that's basically what the Zohar talks about. It's all about how to attain higher levels, but these all these higher levels, all these steps in these ladders, all these rungs in these ladders that we see, they are based on how we use the light for the Creator's sake or for our own sake. And depending on that intention, that's what we're going to receive. Therefore, Kabbalah means receiving, right? So it's about learning how to receive. So the Zohar is like a guide that will help us achieve that level of receiving for the sake of the Creator instead of us receiving for our own sake. And in order to do that, we need to study the Zohar with a different mindset, not about how to reveal these mysteries, these secrets, and that kind of stuff, which you hear a lot on the internet. A lot of people talking about the secret of the Zohar and how mystical this is and that kind of stuff. In reality, this is simple. And it's as simple as change your nature from egoistic to altruistic. Love yourself, love your neighbor, and in this way you're loving the Creator as well, because you were created by the Creator, and the person or the other people that are around you that you need to learn how to love, they were also created by the Creator. And both you and those people are created with strength and also with a lot of faults, right? So there's flaws in our personalities, there's flaws in our character. But that does not mean that we are imperfect. Deep within, we need to achieve the perfection that we have internally. And as we learned in the previous lesson, we need to connect with the soul, because the soul is that internal part of our being that it's able to travel from one degree to another. The external, it is considered the world that we live in, and it cannot travel from one degree to another like our soul does. So as we study the Zohar, let's concentrate on this desire to have this connection with the Creator. And as we have this connection with the Creator, that we need to understand that this light that the Creator is sending to us is there to change us, and that we need to accept this change for the best, that we need to accept this change in order for us to advance spiritually, and in this way help humanity advance as well spiritually, because we cannot change humanity unless we change first, right? So we need to keep that in mind. So scan these letters. As I mentioned in previous lesson, you don't need to understand what the letters are all about. These are the names of God that have been filled with other letters or other names of God. You just scan them. Don't try to make sense of them. I'll give you a few seconds to scan them, and then we're going to read the prayer of the Ari before the study of the Zohar. Ruler of the universe, and master of all masters, the Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work, and you enable us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such a big favor, which is the reason we plead you that you will forgive and acquit all our sins, and that they should not bring separation between you and us. And may it be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you. And may you listen to our utterances and open our closed hearts to the hidden studies of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor, as the aroma of sweet incense. And may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all our being. And may the sparks of your holy servants, through which you reveal your wisdom to the world, shine. May their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us, so we shall not stumble through our study. And by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as it is stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes, so that I may will see the wonders from your Torah. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. May the utterances of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, God, my strength and my Redeemer. So we are going to start on verse 90. Before we start, let's go back a little bit. And what we need to understand is that in our previous lesson, we talk about, let me bring the graphs. We talk about this great sivug that was done by Atik. And this sivug that was done by Atik included Malchut the Malchut. So after the Shavirat Hakalim, right, the breaking of the vessel, where you're gonna see that Atik, it's what is called on a state of embryo. Then the state of Katnut, which is a smallness. There's some sivug. Sivug means, striking of the light on that basically barrier or masach or screen. But then there's a great sivug that is done in the Rosh, right? In a lower section of it that brings the light all the way down, including Malchut the Malchut, which is the lowest part of creation, which is also called creation itself, because Malchut the Malchut is considered, let's put it this way, Malchut the Malchut is considered creation because it's the lowest one, and everything above it is considered of a higher spiritual level, a higher spiritual degree, right? So everything above Malchut the Malchut, then it will be considered spiritual. Now, after that, and this is a state in which Atik was in greatness, in Gadlut, and he was in a state that is considered a state where Tzimtzum Aleph did not have any effect on the Parsuf, so it was able to fill it with light. But then Atik goes back to what is called a small state, which is a state of Tzimtzum, but it restricts itself, and that's when we have all these other degrees as Arin Ampin, Avaveima, Serampin, and Malchut. And this is what we're talking here, how this sivug was made all the way to Malchut the Malchut. However, when it comes to the rest, that sivug or sivugim, or this striking of the light into the screens, did not reach Malchut the Malchut. When it came to Malchut, it only reached what is called Yesod de Malchut, but not Malchut de Malchut. It didn't reach all the way down to that. And Malchut de Malchut is called the Great Sea. Okay? And now, let's go to verse 90 of the book of Zohar. And it says, Rabbi Eleazar examined his words and then said to him, "You are the son of the holy luminary. You are the son of Rav Hamnuna Saba the Venerable. You are the son of the light of the Torah, and you drive our donkeys for us." They both wept and kissed him, then continued their journey. And again they asked him, "May it please our Lord to tell us his name?" So what we see here is that when it says, that they're asking his name, is basically, a name is something. It's basically it's intimacy. Something that is personal. Something that is like, with the name, you can have a better relationship with this person. You can relate to this person not as a stranger, and that's why they want here. It says here about Haslan says, that it is written, looked, right? Because it signifies Hokmah, and no other words such as said or heard, which signify binah, or thought could be used instead. Since they haven't attained this full level of perfection that the donkey driver has actually revealed to them that they can achieve, their attainment reached only as high as Or Haya. They were delighted with what they have of this light so far by Rabbi Hamnuna Saba, because Rabbi Hamnuna Saba, as we have seen in the previous lesson, it's basically Or Yehoyada. So they ask him again to reveal his name. That means, can we receive that degree, of attainment that is in your spiritual degree, so we can attain your spiritual degree. Therefore, and this is Baal Haslan's word, the saying the entire Torah consists only of the Creator's name means that the entire Torah is made of different degrees that a person must attain in order to reach the highest degree, which is that degree of love. Okay? So, those of you who've been studying probably Kabbalah for a period of time already, you probably understand that the letters on the Torah, even though they're separated by spaces, in reality they shouldn't be any space. It's a long name that start with the letter Bet, right, and finish with the letter Lamed. When those two letters are combined, these two letters form the word Lev. A word Lev in English means heart. So the whole Torah is about how to change your desire from level to level, and this is achieved only through the different levels that we attain by reading the names of God in the Torah, which is the whole 600,000 letters that the Torah has. And that all these have to do with achieving that level in our heart, which is the first and last letter of the Torah, which is heart, right? Achieving that level, or raising our heart to a level that is called Ahava, which is another name of God, right? Ahava means love. Each degree in this attainment of this climbing of these rungs in that ladder that will take us to these upper worlds, they have their own names. They have different names, and they're considered, even though you see these names have characters, they are considered names of God. So this is what you're gonna have. You're gonna have names like Moshe, Pharaoh, Abraham. You're gonna have other names that are called Beit Hamikdash, the temple, right? You're gonna have names like Sinai, and you're gonna say, but you put the Pharaoh there, right? Yes, the Pharaoh is a force of the Creator. Just because a force signifies something negative to us, it doesn't mean that it's evil, right? It's just a force that is there to give us some kind of push. And if there's no push, if there's no pain, there's no movement. It's the only way, we as humans move, right? We feel discomfort, we move. We have a hand over a table. Eventually, we're gonna move the hand because it's gonna bother us. We're not gonna feel comfortable. So this is the same with these names like Pharaoh, um, something that is now out there again. This spirit of Amalek, right? That is hatred against the Jews, against Israel, against anybody that wants to reveal the light in the world. You know, even though it bothers us and we consider it evil, doesn't mean that it's something bad. It's there because it's pushing us to some kind of correction. It's letting us know that there's something wrong and that we need to change, or these forces are gonna expand and create a more discomfort, right? So if we don't do our job, these spirits, as some people call it, right, will gain more power because they've been fed by our negative actions, or they've been just fed by our neutral action, meaning that we don't care, right? Which is also negative in the sense. So every name that we have in the Torah of a person, of a place, is considered a name of God, okay? These are degrees of perception of the light of the Creator, and degrees of how the Creator is being attained. And these names appear as if we were basically talking about our world, right? It seems that as we read the Torah, we're talking about external things that have nothing to do with our internal being, which is our soul. And that's the whole point of the Torah, is to use what is called the language of branches, which is in order to explain something that has no form or way to be described in human words, we use regular things, words as such as book, paper, computers, right? Those are, we use those, and we try to use those words in order to explain what is happening in the spiritual. And you're gonna hear a lot like these days, it's a little bit more easier to explain certain stuff, especially when you're talking about spirituality, because quantum physics have actually um, explains some of these weird phenomena in the physical, which is external. But remember, every consequences have a cause. So we see the consequences of what is happening in the physical realm, but this comes from a spiritual root, right? And quantum physics is helping us understand that matter is more strange than we thought, and it's because it is rooted in spirituality, right? Just because it's matter doesn't mean that it's not uh, fed or sustained or supported by the spiritual light. So even though we read these tales and we read about these characters in the Torah, and those who are studying Kabbalah, they might appear as we're talking here about different worlds, different levels from, let's say, Egypt to Israel. We're going into higher levels, right, of spirituality. um, we will not be able to understand, or the person that may not know the whole language of Kabbalah, they might not be able to understand what is happening there, because everything is based on what is called partial concealments of the spiritual world, and also total concealments of the world. The world, the word Olam, the word Olam, which we say is world, right? It's also concealment. It's also ha'alama. So when we say the world of Asiyah, you can also say that this is a concealment of the light at that level of Asiyah. Yetzirah, concealment of the light at that level of Yetzirah. So Olam means concealments, covers, right? But we call them words, okay? So the same way we need to talk about the Torah. The Torah is the light restricting itself into letters in order to reveal itself within us. And through each name of the Torah, what we achieve is a revelation of that light. Even the name of the Pharaoh, even though it's a name that it's connotes something negative, is a revelation of something within us, right? It's the ego, the egoistic nature in us that we need to change. Egypt is our desire to be slaves because we have everything there, right? We don't want to walk through this desert of change that we need to go through. Sinai, it's just a mountain, right? Not necessarily. Sinai just means, mountain of hatred, right? Sinat. And this is something that we need to keep in mind when we're reading the Torah, because the whole thing is using names of geographical and historical figures, but in reality, it's all about spirituality, just that it is concealed. And for those who study Kabbalah, it's partially concealed. Okay? So let's go to verse 91. Let me take myself out of the, so you can read it. He began with verse, Benayahu, the son of Yehoyada. This verse has been explained and explained well, but it came to show us the sublime secrets of the Torah. So the name Benayahu, the son of Yehoyada, has been mentioned as referring to the secret of wisdom. It is a clue to something deep and concealed, and the name Cosset, the son of a valiant living, meaning a man, implies to the righteous with life of the worlds. Mighty of deeds means that he is a master of all actions and of all the hosts on high, because they all come from him. He is called Hashem Sevaot, or Yehovah Sevaot, because he is assigned through his host and is distinguished as he stands high above them all. So this is actually from it says Benayahu, the son of Yehoyada. He's from 2nd of Samuel, chapter 23, verse 20th. And the Zohar is telling us here that there's secrets in the Torah. The name Yehoyada or Yehoyada consists of two Yohe Vav, the first three letters of Havaya, right? And Yeda, which means knowledge. So when you look this is Yehoyada, right? You see Yod, He, Vav, right? And then Yada means knowledge, okay? So this is what we're talking here about, this name. Yod, He, Vav, and Yod, Dalet, Ayin. So Yehoyada consists of two, Yohevav, the first three letters of the Havaya, and then Yeda, which means knowledge. Keter of the word of Atzilut is called RADLA, and this is something that now we're entering into something more um, deep. I'm not gonna tell you what RADLA means. It just means unattainable head. Right? They want to have just think about the rush, okay? A rush or a head that is hidden, okay? While Attic itself surrounds all other parts of him in the world of Atzilut. Let me go back to the graphs because it's better to picture. Okay. So, Keter of the world of Atzilut. Where is Keter of the world of Atzilut here? So we have the world of Atzilut. The one that represents Keter is going to be adding camping in here. And it's unattainable. Then you're going to have unattainable meaning, for us as people, right? In the way we are. Then Attic surrounds all the other parts of him, the world of Atzilut, So you have Attic here. And Attic, basically, this whole parsuf here has inside it all the other parsuf like Arin Camping, Aveima, and Serampin Mahut. Attic is called surrounding, meaning, Makif. It surrounds all the other parsuf. Because of the lower parsufim, cannot attain it, or the sivuk of Attic itself. They cannot attain that sivuk. So they cannot attain anything that comes from this parsuf called Attic, which means that there's nothing descending from Attic to the lower parsufim. Even Arin Camping, right? Arin Camping here is concealed from them. And this is what is called the concealed Hokmah. However, it is not defined as unattainable like Attic, for it contains a sivuk on or Hokmah. However, this light does not descend to the lower ones, but only a small, little, tiny luminescence from it, called He'arat Hokmah, reaches them. Now, if we were to explain Attic is a very, very strange parsuf. It's a parsuf that is kind of like different than any other, because as we see after the Shavira Hakalim, it just doesn't have this rule of the Tzimtzum Bet. It has the rule of Tzimtzum Aleph. And what we see is the following. In Attic, which is called, the restriction of Attic, what we have is the following. When we have a state of Ibur in Attic, the Sivuk is basically on levels 1-0. And in the second restriction, right? And this is called Ibud, and in the state of Yenika, it's on 2-1. So as you can see, as it's growing and growing, this is the Sivuk basically is getting into more egoistic vessel, meaning the more desire to receive. Then when it goes to 4-3, 4 meaning Malchut, 3 meaning Seramping, it's a state of Gadlut. And then this is the thing, Attic belongs to what is called the world of Akudim. It is not connected to the second restriction. Okay, even though the second restriction happened because of the Shavira Hagalim, it's not connected to the second restriction. So this here does not apply to Attic. Arin Camping is called basically Hogma from Attic. Also, Abaveima, Serampia, Mahut are separated from it. Attic is ruled by Tzimtzum Aleph and is not ruled by Tzimtzum Bet. However, the what is called the Netzat and Hot of Atik awaken the broken souls in Biyah to ascend to Atzilut. So where is it, those so what you're gonna see is here, we got Chabad, Haggad, Nehi. So Netzat and Hot are the ones that are gonna awaken, all the souls that are down here in order to achieve this world of correction where the Messianic era, the Shabbat, it's, and as you can see, it only reaches Yesod, right? So it's through Yesod that or Nehi, that this down here, which is a Malchut, it's a Malchut, the Malchut down here, that only in Atik it receives the light, but in here it doesn't. It's through that all this is going to ascend to the level of Atzilut, okay? And thus the light will fill the whole Parsuf. It's hard to understand, but just for now, remember that Atik has no connection with Tzimtzum Bet, only with Tzimtzum Aleph. It doesn't have the same rules, but there's Atik and Tzimtzum Bet who is clothing all this Parsuf called Abba Ve'ima, Serampin, and Mahut, including Aren Gamping, okay? Now, all the light that fills the world through the 600 years of correction, so we have here the weekdays, 600-year correction, is basically Abba Ve'ima and Yeshu, who are called Chokmah, of the 32 paths of the 32 forces of Elohim. And this is a class that we had before, probably like 6 classes before this one. They're basically, what it's saying is that there are 2 types of Heara Chokmah. So everything is like a fractal. What is happening above, it repeats below. The light of Chokmah is the result of Bina ascending to Aren Camping, Abba Ve'ima going to Aren Camping, where Bina receives the Or Chokmah and can give it to the lower ones. And this is why the light of Chokmah that is revealed through the 600 years before the end of corrections is no more than the light of Bina, which received this Or Chokmah when it ascends to that level of Aren Camping. So when Abba Ve'ima ascends to Aren Camping, we have talked about this in like 3 classes before. Serampin also rises up, and Mahuz rises up, when this is when we're talking the Asilut. And therefore, Bina, which is Ima, can receive the light, clothed in Or Hasidim, and give it to Serampin, Mahut, which in turn is going to give it to the lower ones. Aren Camping is called Yeda. Remember the name? The last letters, Yeda. Yeda means knowledge, because it gives Or Chokmah to Bina, and it knows all the ways of the light of Chokmah, and how to give it or to put it inside Bina, and through her give it also to the lower ones. While making this coupling, this sivuk, this union, Aren Camping itself does not pass the light downwards, but as Abba Ve'ima ascend to Aren Camping, they receive this Or Chokmah, which is called 32 streams, and also are called 32 paths of wisdom that can be attained by those who are below. Everything that is written in the book of Zohar refers to all the souls in general. There are some exceptions, but these exceptions are not normally studied. There are some special souls that merit becoming a vessel, a kli, called man, Mainuch being feminine waters for this great sivuk of RADLA, which is the unattainable head, basically, after their exile, and to receive from this sivuk of the upper world the degree of Yehoyada. These are the souls of Benayahu, Ben Yehoyada, Rabbi Hamnuna Saba, and some others, which are very few, that are chosen. This exalted soul revealed itself to the righteous in this world, and as a result, the righteous merit to be in what is called the level of the attributes of Or Yehoyada. And this Or Yehoyada shines through this exalted soul while they are still incarnated in this world. This is why the name Benayahu ben Yehoyada indicates that it stems from this inner Chokmah, this inner wisdom, this inner knowledge, the attainable light of Chokmah of the level of Atik. The name also causes the concealment of the light of Chokmah, because this name, Yehoyada, which has the Yod-He and the Vav and the word Yeda, means he who knows and attain these three letters, the Yod-He and the Vav. And whoever has that name, right, Yehoyada, that means that this soul is the only soul that can attain these three letters and no other. This is why this name is still concealed in its place. In the beginning, the donkey driver only explained the quality of these sivug, these couplings in Atik, and really high levels, the power of the light that emerges from this head of Atik, which the name of this sivug is called Ben Ish Chai, Rav Paalim, Ve Mekabziel, which indicates, and then he explained what is concealed, what descends to the soul. It was explained that this sivug takes place in the Gamar Tikkun, the end of correction of the entire Malchut, and that it includes also other individuals' couplings or sivugim in the degrees that emerge from these degrees that are called the 6,000 years of correction. All these lights that accumulate, they become one. All the types of Mainuchbin, feminine waters, combine into one and ascend to ask for a sivug, for a coupling, right? It's asking for light, they're asking for life. Remember, Mainuchbin is like a prayer, it's a desire, I want the light. And this man, right, that asks for this sivug, includes all the suffering and punishment gradually accumulated through these 6,000 years. This is what is explained, that the height and greatness of this sivug and the degree of light that emerges from this sivug is infinite, and it can destroy all the impure forces once and for all. The Yesod of Serampin, from which this light of this coupling or sivug, the combination of all these lights over the full course of this 6,000 years of correction is emanated, it's called Ishchai Rav Paalim, a vivid man of many actions. However, the Malchut, which has within itself all the Mainuchbin, the feminine waters, the suffering and the work performed during the 6,000 years, is called Mekabziel, gathering one. Okay? Now, the Zohar also calls it Tzadik Chai Olamim, the righteous who revives the worlds, because of the point of the Sephirah Yesod, which give the light to Malchut. The Sephirah Yesod doesn't have a place to receive the light for itself, and this is why it lives high, right? Only pass the light to Malchut. This is why it is called Tzadik, the righteous one, who receives the worlds. Chai Olamim. Tzadik Chai Olamim. Its other name is Rav Paalim. Rav Paalim means performing many actions, and that indicates it includes all the Main Duchring, with all the masculine waters, basically the waters that come from above down below. And these mad, right, masculine waters of all the good deeds, of all the degrees that were revealed through those 6,000 years. And this is because all these degrees are now being revealed together as one integrated light, and they leave the Yesod and they enter Malchut. And because Yesod now gathers all this light that was emanated during these 6,000 years into one and passes this light to Malchut, these actions determine the name Rav Paalim, performing many actions. Now let's go to verse 92. Rav Paalim is also Mekabziel. Mighty of deeds is of Kabbalah. So where did this great and precious tree, which is greater than all, come from? From which grade? The verse repeatedly states of Kabbalah, which is a high and concealed grade that neither has the eye seen. It includes everything, and it gathers everything it received from the supernal light, and from it everything goes forth. So Rav Paalim is also Mekabziel, the exalted tree. Okay? Now, Nukba, which is Malchut, is also called Mekabziel. Why? Because she receives and gathers all this light from Yesod inside her. And this is why Yesod is called Rav Paalim, the degree that emerges from this sivug that into this sivug is called the supreme and exalted tree that originated from Yesod and entered the Sephirah Malchut. Now, the Zohar is going to continue explaining and show us the quality and the origin of this great degree, and the name Mekabziel, which means gathering, is used. Yesod gathers, accumulates the upper light and passes into Nukba, Malchut, and both Yesod and Malchut are called Mekabziel. Now, these degrees that emerge from this coupling of Yesod and Malchut is called None But You Have Seen the Creator. This degree comes after a complete correction has been achieved, and at that moment of unification of the final correction that completes them all. And this is why this degree is defined as all-inclusive, for it collects all this light over all these 6,000 years and manifests this light once, or all of it as one in the true perfection that the light is. Okay. Verse 93. And this is the sacred concealed temple, into which all the grades are gathered and concealed. The body of this temple is where all the worlds are gathered, whereby all the holy hosts are nourished and sustained. As we have studied before in the beginning of this lesson, in the previous lesson, the Zohar talks about this level, this parsuf called Attic. But it talks also about this head of Attic, Rosh the Attic, where all these degrees and all this light and all the worlds are concentrated and are concealed, right? Bahuslan says that the Zohar explains how these couplings can occur all the way to the final correction, to Gamar HaTikun. So it will combine all these degrees, emerging one after another during 6,000 years, and they will emerge instantly during 6,000 years of the world's existence, right? When the degrees are in a state of constant ascent and descent, for as soon as the new degree and a new attainment of the creator of the light is revealed, the present degree disappear. We mentioned that, right? That it doesn't mean that it disappeared. It just means that for the vessel, the creature, it seems that way. Because the light doesn't change. What changes is the sensation. So the sensation of the vessel, the sensation of the creature is that this degree disappears. This happens because of the sin of the lower ones who cannot retain that degree permanently. Remember that the word Olam means Olama, concealment. So the complete revelation of the Creator to His creature will take place at the end of these 6,000 years. In the meantime, the world concealment will continue until that end of correction in which it will cease to exist. So whenever the vessel feels that this degree disappears in order, or this degree disappears because of the sensation, of attaining a new degree. In reality, this degree ascends to the head of Attic, to Rosh the Attic, and hides there so as to join the other degrees. And then it will manifest itself at the end of correction. In the same way, Attic gathers all these degrees revealed in the world during the 6,000 years and conceal them within itself until the Gamar Tikkun, the end of correction. And it says, when it corrects the last portion of what it must correct, and thus cannot no longer sin, and it no longer needs to sin to correct the next portion of egoism. Hence, this final degree remains permanently and does not disappear. The Attic gathers all the degrees, and they all manifest at the same time, simultaneously. During the 6,000 years, Attic is unattainable. This is what it is called RADLA, right? So RADLA means, it's an abbreviation actually. RADLA is an abbreviation for the Aramaic words of Reisha de lo etiada, meaning the head that is not attainable. Whereas the name Attic comes from the word ne'etak, which means isolated. Remember, we mentioned that this parsuf is not somehow is not ruled by Tzimtzum Bet. It's ruled by Tzimtzum Aleph. So it's isolated from the lower ones because it does not shine upon them. And even though this parsuf accumulates all the lights that merge from it itself and becomes revealed to the lower one, right? The light of the Gamar Tikkun, the end of correction, remains concealed nonetheless, right? The Parsufim below, they don't see that line of the end of correction. What happens is that after each degree disappears due to the sin of the lower ones, it goes higher or ascends to this Rosh the Attic, to this head of Attic, and conceal itself there, and to that unattainable head of Attic. However, the body of Attic, Guf the Attic, from its peh, from the mouth downward, is located inside all the other parts of him in the world of Atzilut, meaning that Guf of Attic is attainable by them. By clothing in the Parsufim of the world of Atzilut, Attic shines through them and gives the light to them, and through them to the words of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. And the light that shines through the 6,000 years will come only from this body of Attic, this Guf the Attic. and not from any other higher spiritual level. So, as probably we have seen, and if you have studied Kabbalah for a while, the rush of a parsuf, let me go to a graph so it's better to understand. The rush of a parsuf is where all the calculations are going to be made. Whatever happens here will affect the lower ones down here. So this is also the same in regard to the parsufin of the world of Adam Kadmon and the other parsufin on all the worlds except for Atik. So Atik, like I said, is kind of special because it's not ruled by Tzimtzum Bet, but it's ruled by Tzimtzum Aleph. What is this that this Atik remains in Tzimtzum Aleph and descends down to a world? However, Atik can act only if it pretends, let's put it this way, in order to make, if it makes a special sivuk on itself, and the light from it descends to a lower one, it's only through a special sivuk that it makes, and it can then attain what is called Atik in Tzimtzum Bet. So if it's like it lowers itself in order to give that light. So we have the rush, the head. We have a tabur. The tabur is basically like a masach, like a barrier, right? And that's basically from down the tabur to the parsa is the body, guf. It includes also the siyum down here. We should consider like the legs, right? But it's only through this, through the guf and through the pe here, that the lower ones will receive the light. So that's when it is considered Atik in, or as if it was in Tzimtzum Bet. So this light that comes and feeds or sustains the world is the light of Or Hasidim, the light that comes to stimulate the growth of the Parsufim, to turn a small Parsuf from Katnut into a big Parsuf in Gatlut, and this is called the receiving of the Or Chokmah. Both of these lights, the Or Hasidim and the Or Chokmah, originate in this guf of Atik. Or Chokmah, which makes a Parsuf big, is called the light that elevates a Parsuf. For the lying position is called Ibur, embryo, right? The sitting position is called Katnut, and the standing position is Gadlut. So this is something that is revealed now. It's like whenever you read the Zohar and you hear about people traveling, is souls moving from one level to another in the rungs of the spiritual ladder. When we talk about a person is laying down, is the state of Ibur. When it says in the Zohar, when a person is sitting, for example, when it says, and they all sat, and they explain this, is because they're in a state of Katnut, right? In which they're using only these vessels of bestowal. There's no vessels of receiving yet used. And the standing, which is a state of Gadlut, okay? Or big. So we're gonna stop here, and before we continue with 94, because we're gonna kind of like enter into a different kind of explanation, and I don't want to leave it in the middle, right? But just understand, that what being explaining here is basically this strange parsuf called Atik, and how it behaves compared with all the other parsuf, right? That is just different. It just doesn't it's not ruled by this tzimtzum bet that happens, after the breaking of the vessel and things like that. It is ruled by tzimtzum aleph, which is the first restriction. So we're gonna leave it until here, and we're gonna continue in our next lesson with verse 94, in which we are going to be talking about Ariel, Moab, the Holy Temple, and how the Holy Temple existed thanks to the Atik, this Parsuf Atik. And the first and second temple, basically means concealment, the destruction of these two temples, how that actually became a concealment of this of the light. And that's why I want to stop here, because I don't want to leave this in the middle, right? And we're almost on an hour already of our study. So I'll see you in the next lesson. I hope you have enjoyed this lesson. Make sure you subscribe and like and share. Like I mentioned in the previous lesson, this is the way. These are free classes. You can donate if you want to donate, but the best way to pay is by subscribing, liking, and sharing this, so more people can reach and understand the light of the Creator through the study of the Zohar, and also the classes that we have in our website, www.receivingtheupperlight.com, where all these lessons that we have in YouTube are organized in a very nice way that you don't have to do any searching in YouTube. You just go over there, click the lesson that you want to see, and automatically will open the lesson that we have uploaded in YouTube. So until the next lesson, I'll see you later. Lehitraot. Shalom.